up? Craig Farley. How are you? Good to see you.
It's good to see you.
With the name of your company, or your last name is pretty much on the name of the company, Farley and Company. So what do you guys do?
So Farley Turner is an investment banking firm that is located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and we do two things for privately held companies. One is we help them raise capital, and the second is that we help owners who are looking to gain liquidity in their business, either a full exit or a partial exit.
So, when I came to meet you, or the first time I met you, you had been pretty deep in the craft beer market, and now you're really looking at the non-alcoholic space. What opportunities do you see here that weren't necessarily opportunities before?
So, a lot of the trends that we see going on in craft beer are going across the beverage spectrum. So whether it's beverages like kombucha or cold brewed coffee, or a lot of the same things are happening. You're seeing these small brands rise up, take market share from some of the former market leaders, and it's just an exciting time across the entire spectrum, I would say, in the beverage industry.
So, did you see the New Beverage Showdown upstairs, or did you see some of it?
I caught the very end of it.
What you caught the very end?
Yeah.
It's interesting because these are the small brands that are going to come into you and say, hey, what do we need for you to invest in our company? And even though you're not necessarily maybe ready to invest in these kind of early stage companies, what is some of the advice you would give them to say, to approach you with the right tools to look for investment?
So I would say the very first thing is figure out what you need the money for. You'd be surprised at the number of companies that have a general sense that they need to raise money, but really haven't sat down and thought through exactly how they would spend it. They don't know the exact amount they would need. They're not sure, other than kind of general corporate purposes. But I would say think through and put together a budget. So are you looking to raise money? Do you need capital equipment? Do you need salespeople, feet on the ground? Do you need, equipment to manufacture? I think you need to think through what it is that you're trying to do with your strategy, and then the best way to get there. And I think an investment banker can help in that process, in the sense that they will ask the questions that will force you to think through those issues.
Yeah, and most of the time I hear it's that people are looking for salespeople, people to help them, their first regional sales rep. And it's not necessarily an inexpensive cost. You're talking about hiring someone at $50,000, $60,000 a year. Is that what you're seeing? Are you seeing folks who just need other people to help them get their product out there? Is that the most compelling reason to get investment at this point?
No, let's take craft beer as an example. That's a very capital-intensive business.
Right.
So I think even more than a feet on the ground, to get up and running, you need equipment, and that's going to cost you, depends on how sophisticated you want to start out, but probably on the very low end, $500,000 to $1 million, and you could go up from there. So it depends on the business plan, but yes, salespeople are obviously important, but that's not the only use that we see people coming to us for.
Yeah. What trends are you looking at right now? You mentioned, you see some of the just general high-level kind of, trends that are happening all over beverage, but any specific categories or specific formulation trends that you're seeing that are really compelling to you?
Well, I think when you're talking about trends, one of the ones that we see kind of across the spectrum is better for you. So better ingredients. People are looking for something that they want to know what they're putting inside their body. And so, companies that are being made with, non-GMO, organic type ingredients, I think are seeing rapid growth right now.
Yep.
So that's one example of a trend that we'd be looking at.
In terms of any specific beverage categories, just in your own personal life, what are you seeing? Some of the things, is it cold brew coffee? Is it cold pressed juice? Is it tea? Is it what?
Yeah, yes, and yes. Like take kombucha. 3 years ago, I had no idea what it was, and now I find myself drinking it regularly. So it's the interesting thing to me about the beverage business is the amount of innovation that's going on. And so these categories like coconut water that didn't exist 10 years ago are
Right.
now big categories. And, I mean, you could even start with the most basic one, which is the most the most drunk beverage in the United States is now bottled water.
Right.
So, I mean, when you look at how the industry has transformed itself over the last 20 years, I don't see the pace of that slowing down going forward.
Indeed, and it's interesting you brought up kombucha. I was talking about this in our podcast a little while ago. I myself never thought I'd be drinking kombucha with dinner, and I've been drinking kombucha with dinner like every night this past week. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting. I mean, it's it takes a little bit of time to get used to the flavor, but
I would liken it, Ray, to sour beers.
Right, sure.
It takes a little getting used to, but once you get used to it, you start to develop that, A, familiarity with it, and B, kind of a craving for it at times.
well, maybe we'll see more craft beer producers start making kombucha.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. All right. Last question: can Manchester United win the Premier League next season?
That's a great question. I think the answer is yes.
The answer is
Let's
yes.
hope so.
Go Man U.
Yes, go.
All right.
Glory, glory.
All right. Craig, really
Thank you.
great. Thanks so much for being a part of this, and thanks for being a sponsor.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right.